MST negates. Good afternoon, jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-minute testing. One thing that really befuddles me is Konami's willingness to print cards immediately destined for the bulk bin. It seems like more and more packs are stuffed with archetypes full of heart and soul, but sorely lacking in playability. Well, I say no more, and my Patreons agree. Look, anything can seem playable if you cherry-pick the few games you win out of a dozen replays. On an unrelated note, presenting Radiant Typhoon.
Negate!
So here's the list, which kind of builds itself. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Rocket Money. As a Yu-Gi-Oh player, I know the value of endlessly scrutinizing your spending. No other community is willing to spend an hour of the precious gift of sentience haggling down a mod play Link Spider from $1. That's why today's sponsor, Rocket Money, is here to help you manage your financial accounts. Rocket Money is an all-in-one personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. I personally use it to cancel subscriptions I'm no longer using. Farfa's Twitch. Don't need that. Just connect to your account, select what you're not using, and just a few taps later, you're free of that glass Weegan. Rocket Money's helped its customers save over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Join these ranks by clicking the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on screen to get started for free. Now back to the video. With that, let's rankle with Radiant Typhoon. Radiant Typhoon is an entire archetype built around a joke that's older than the average Farfa viewer. MST negates. Mystical Space Typhoon, a staple piece of spell trap destruction, was the most powerful card on the playground courtesy of confusion about its card text. Target one spell or trap card on the field, destroy that target. If you destroy a Pot of Greed, surely that means your opponent doesn't draw, right? Well, as we aged, we realized there's a difference between negation and destruction, but the misunderstanding remained as an early inoculation to Yu-Gi-Oh's ridiculous rules nonsense. Now, Konami's capitalizing on our childhood mistakes by releasing an archetype of monsters that worship the Mystical Space Typhoon and imbue it with the power to, yes, finally negate. So that's a funny meme, but what do the cards actually do? Well, unfortunately, not a ton. Their monsters are free special summons if an opponent lacks spell traps or you've got an MST, they all search each other, and their bosses turn quick plays into additional points of interaction. As a result, we're going to mix them with another suite of quick plays, the Runics. Hopefully, we'll be able to banish all of our opponent's Garnets. Realistically, we're probably going to lose to Droll. A lot. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. All right, let's do the Radiant Typhoon monsters. First up is Swen. This card can be special summoned from the hand if you have a Mystical Space Typhoon card in your graveyard or your opponent controls no spells or traps. All of the 3 stars have the same summoning condition, so I'm not going to repeat it. If this card is special summoned, you can add a Radiant Typhoon spell trap or an MST from your deck to your hand. If Erdam is special summoned, you can add a Radiant Typhoon monster or a Mystical Space Typhoon from your deck to your hand. And Megalo works a little bit different. If a Radiant Typhoon quick play spell or Mystical Space Typhoon is activated, you can special a Radiant Typhoon monster from your deck with a different name than the monsters you control, and you're windlocked. A couple of cards have this restriction on them, so we're playing some truly awful stuff in our extra deck. We're playing 3 copies of Radiant Typhoon Crow-C. This has the other summoning condition these cards often have, which is if a quick play spell card is activated, this can be specialed from the hand. If this card is normally special summoned, you can add a Radiant Typhoon card and or a Mystical Space Typhoon from your deck and or graveyard to your hand, and you're windlocked. And this card can't be destroyed by battle or card effects if your opponent controls no spell traps. We're playing 1 copy of the Great Fire Phoenix. If a quick play spell card is activated, this can be summoned from the hand, and if a quick play spell card is activated, you can target up to 2 cards your opponent controls, shuffle them into the deck. This one also reanimates himself if a Mystical Space Typhoon is activated while this card is in your graveyard. Finally, we are playing 1 copy of the Vibrant Vortex. If a quick play spell card is activated, he comes from the hand. If your opponent activates a monster effect and you have MST in your graveyard, this is a negate, and then if you have 2 or more, it's also a destruction. Once again, if this card is in your graveyard when MST is activated, it can be summoned as well. These 2 cards both box out different kinds of strategies. Usually you're not going to go for both of them, but you may cycle through both of them over the course of a game. For spell traps, we're on 3 copies of the Typhoon Vision. If this card is destroyed by the effect of MST, it can be set, and you get to activate one of these effects, but it's one of the new class of cards where you can activate each effect once in 1 turn. Draw 2 cards, then if you have a Radiant Typhoon card or a quick play spell in your hand, discard one of them, or your entire hand if you don't, or add an MST from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And then Radiant Typhoon Chant. If destroyed by the effect of a Mystical Space Typhoon can be set, then you can activate one of these effects, one of those effects per turn, add a level 4 or lower Radiant Typhoon monster from your deck to your hand, add an MST from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Finally, we are playing Radiant Typhoon Mandate, which, once per turn, allows you to target 3 quick play spells in your graveyard, including 1 Radiant Typhoon card. Apply the following effects in sequence, shuffle them into the deck, and draw a card, and your win monsters gain 300 attack and defense this turn. And additionally, once per chain, when a Mystical Space Typhoon is activated, yes, you can target a face-up card your opponent controls, negate its effects. Now, this activates in the same chain as the Mystical Space Typhoon, so you can target the Radiant Typhoon Mandate and it will proc. Additionally, because it's been destroyed by the effect of Mystical Space Typhoon, its last effect will trigger and it will be set once again. Finally, that's card, not monster, which means that it has the sort of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss effect to box out really powerful cards. We're on 2 copies of Runic Fountain, 3 copies of Runic Destruction, 3 copies of Flashing Fire, 3 Tip, 3 Freezing Curses, and 3 Slumber. We're going to win most of our games by deck out. In the extra, we've got Cicada King, which is a wind, Bamboozling Gossip Shadow, which is a wind, Ashura King. Okay, listen, sometimes we have to actually attack for lethal. Totem Bird, which is a wind, and then Typhon and Sky Thunder, because of course we are on a bunch of Xyz monsters. Win the Wind Channeler, IP Masquerena, SP Little Knight, Sleipnir the Runic Mane. We have a Gary the Runic Fangs, Triple Hugin the Runic Wings, and 1 copy of Munin as well. In the side, we've got Harpy's Featherstorm, because guess what? We have a lot of wind-winged beast monsters. 3 Dropolet, 3 Book of Eclipse, 3 Perulia, and 3 Fant. So with that, let's check out some games. Our first match is up against Jurak Fire King. Jurak Fire King versus Radiant Typhoon. Are we sure this isn't Genesis? We're going first, and our hand looks pretty good. We're going to begin with a copy of Swen. We'll trigger the effect of the Swen in order to grab a Mystical Space Typhoon, then we're going to activate Vision and chain the effect of Chant in order to grab from deck to hand and Eldam, followed by draw 2, discard 1. Down comes the Eldam. We'll trigger the effect in order to grab a Crocia, and then we will activate our first Runic. Unfortunately, our opponent has a Dominus Impulse, so hey, I guess we don't have to go for the Fountain this turn. We'll just go for Crocia instead. We'll grab both a Megala and the other Mystical Space Typhoon, set 3, and pass back to our opponent on a Totem Bird. They'll draw for turn. They're going to begin with a copy of Ponix. They'll trigger the effect of the Ponix. We will activate the effect of Vision and chain the effect of Mystical Space Typhoon. So at point of resolution, we can trigger the effect of the Megala and get our Shuffler. We will do just that and trigger the effect of our Vision as well, resetting it because it's been popped off the effect of our Mystical Space Typhoon. They will go for Sanctuary. That's a perfect target for our Totem Bird, but unbeknownst to us, they already have the island. Okay, we're going to go for Curses here, targeting this copy of Ponix, and afterwards we can activate the effect of our Great Flame in order to shuffle the board back. This forces our opponent to set a Call by the Grave and pass back to us. In our draw phase, we will activate Vision in order to draw, and from here we should be able to control the game, activating both the Great Flame and the Megala in order to get another copy of Eldam. From here, we'll trigger the effect of the Eldam in order to grab the last remaining Radiant Typhoon monster, overlay for a Gossip Shadow, and Runic Tip for a copy of Fountain. We'll trigger the effect of our Beauteous Vortex and make Verdant for space as we go for Runic Fountain, summon 2, and make a Cicada King. Let's go to the battle phase to run out our Runic and then pass turn. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Jurak Megalo into Linkuriboh. We will Flashing Fire, targeting the Linkuriboh so that we have more stuff to do. We'll shuffle 3 cards back and see what we find at the top, and it's crazy. We'll go for Tip in order to grab a copy of Freezing Curses, and they will pass turn. From here, it's just a matter of decking them out. We will link off for a copy of SP Little Knight, use its effect in order to banish the Jurak Megalo just in case, go to battle to blank the effect, and then pass back to them. Down comes Fire King Island, but unbeknownst to them, we already have 2 copies of Destruction. We'll go ahead and send that to the yard, banishing the top 4 of their deck. It'll trigger the Fire King Island, but more importantly, it'll trigger the Fountain, putting us back up to 6. They'll normal summon the Arvada. That's going to be negated. They will banish a couple extra cards off the top of the deck, and we'll be able to shuffle it back in. They'll chain the effect of the Arvada, but of course that's going to be negated, and they'll just scoop it up. So that's how the deck performs on the play, but what does it do on the draw? Well, for Game 2, we're playing against Dracotail, another potential Genesis deck, and our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Ketu into Lucius. Lucius will trigger here to get a Burgula, and then they're going to go for a 5-mana for an Arthalion. Arthalion will trigger, as will Lucius, as will Urgula, and that's going to get them both a Rahu and a Ketu, which is really horrifying because it means they probably already have access to the trap. Okay, they're going to go for Rahu here. That's going to make a Gulamel. Gulamel will enable a 5-mana and a Pan trigger in order to set both Dracotail Sting and another Rahu Dracotail. Urgula cycles back this 5-mana mana, and they'll set one more card. Set 4 pass. Oh god. Okay, well, they control spell trap, so we gotta get this MST in a rotation. They'll begin with a copy of Flame. They will negate my MST. How could you? And we'll go Freezing Curses targeting the Gulamel. From here we can go Flashing Fire in order to get a Hugin. We'll trigger the effect of the Hugin in order to grab a Fountain. Then we'll activate Fountain, hopefully drawing into something playable off the tip here. We'll activate the effect of the tip in order to grab Destruction, then Fountain effect. Into Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. Okay, we can Runic Destruction targeting this back row, which will target Sting in order to perform the Banish effect, but things aren't looking fantastic. We can still use our copy of Chant in order to grab a Swen, and we can normal the Swen in order to grab a Trance. They will go for the 5 mana here, making another copy of Arthalion, and oh my god, getting rid of the entire board here. They will reset this copy of Flame as well. Back go our monsters, and we will go for Vision. We do get to discard one card, but unfortunately a Freezing Curses and a Dream probably won't do it. Insult to injury is that they have another copy of Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion in the hand. We go for the Freezing Curses to negate the effect of the Lucius. It resolves. At point of resolution, we'll go, yippee, it's Fountain time. We're still in this game. This time they'll just show us the Flame. All right, this looks like just about it. They'll link off for a Chorizo and then go for the effect of the Gulamel, bringing it back, finally going Rahu, Draco Tail, and Gulamel in order to send my Fountain and make a second Gula. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's on what else but Yummy Mitsurugi, the new hotness. We've opened really well, but unfortunately our opponent has opened a card we do not want to see. We're going to go Draw Phase Tip. This is a lesson in holding A. Then we'll special summon an Eldam in order to grab a Swen, at which point our opponent drolls and locks our bird. Okay, well, we can chain Vision in order to pitch this MST, then overlay for a Bamboozler before passing back to our opponent. They'll draw for turn, and they're going to special out this Marshmallow. We'll try and contest it, because if they get to the link, I think we probably just lose. We'll go for Flashing Fire, and thankfully this time we are not going to fall victim to the Ghost Bell, because we can chain block using our Crocia. We will draw a couple of cards, they will Ghost Bell the Crocia activation, and then at point of resolution they will activate Ame no Habakiri no Mitsurugi. That's probably worth the Bamboozler. Unfortunately, I draw them into action here, the Lollipo. We can negate the effect, but they are going to be able to get to Snatchy. We'll summon out this copy of the Vibrant Vortex. They make Snatchy. Snatchy will trigger, but we are able to negate it using our Vibrant effect. Unfortunately, sometimes they just draw Ritual. So they're going to go Ritual into the Habakiri we know is in their grip, and that's probably all she wrote. They'll cycle back the Saji and this Ritual as well. They will go for it from deck here for Ame no Murakumo. They'll trigger the effect of the Murakumo and the Habakiri, and trigger the Prayers in hand in order to grab Futsu as well. Out comes Kusanagi, down goes our board, and we are cooked. From here, they can go Saji effect in order to cycle back, and then they'll activate Mirror in order to bring out the Futsu, triggering the effect of the Murakumo in Graveyard for well over lethal. Okay, well, so it's time for game 2, and well, we'll just have to hope that doesn't happen again. I don't see a droll, so let me show you the power of this fully armed and operational deck. We hit the Kusanagi of this Runic Tip. We'll go for Runic Fountain followed by a Runic Freezing Curses. We're going to special summon a copy of Munin. You know, let's start banishing a little more. Slumber targeting the Munin. And we hit a Mitsurugi Mirror. Wow, it is just my day. All right, let's draw a couple of cards and then go for Swen. We'll activate the effect of the Swen in order to grab a Chant. Then we'll fire off the champion in order to grab an Eldam. From here, we will overlay for a Bamboozler before we commit to the Eldam, which means that it probably will resolve. We'll get a Crocia, then we'll go Flashing Fire to special, just so that we can then special summon this copy of Crocia. Crocia will trigger and we'll be able to get the Trap card. Haven't been able to show that off. Let me show you why this negates. We'll go into Totem Bird, set 2, and pass back to our opponent. They'll draw for turn. Wow, 2 copies of the Ritual. They will go Mitsurugi Ritual. We will Totem Bird. Then we will activate the Typhoon Mandate so that it is online. They'll go for the Ritual. We will chain MST to negate it. And then afterwards, they will Prayers. And we will chain MST. And they will chain Surprise! Unfortunately, Mandate has to be the next thing in chain, which means they do get to resolve the effect of their Ritual here. They're going to cycle for this copy of Saji, and then afterwards they're going to special summon out this copy of Habakiri. They'll trigger the effect of the Cookie and the effect of the Murakumo. Thankfully, we can stop the effect of the Murakumo, courtesy of our Gossip Shadow, which draws them a card. We'll go for Flashing Fire in order to get this Cookie off the board, and then from here we can Runic Fountain our way back into playables. 2 off, 2 on. They'll go for Saji. We'll activate Runic Tip afterwards in order to grab from deck to hand a copy of Freezing Curses. Then after that, they're going to go and set 1 pass. They'll walk over our Crocy and over our Totem Bird, setting the card so that they can actually kill our guy in battle, ending on an SP Little Knight targeting our copy of Runic Fountain. We will chain the effect of our Radiant Typhoon Mandate so that we can draw off of the quick plays in our graveyard, but we should be able to lock it up from here. In draw phase, we'll go for Tip, and then afterwards, we will go to the main phase. Let's activate Runic Fountain. After that, we can go for Freezing Curses to negate the effects of the Little Knight. They will Little Knight here because it won't banish if she's not on field, but it will trigger the effect of the Runic Fountain, which apparently is really strong. We will go for this Chant afterwards and then special out this Eldam. We will grab a Suen who we can special out. We'll trigger the effect of the Suen. we'll grab the only quick play we're missing as we SP Little Knight, their last card off the board. Here the prayers will MST, and in chain we'll be able to use Mandate to negate it. Then a point of resolution, we are going to be able to special out this Meghala, activate the effect of our vision, draw a couple of cards, trigger the Meghala, get a copy of the Crocy, who will trigger, getting us back the MST. We've got a negate and floodgates to our opponent's singleton card. They'll go for prayers, we'll negate with Harpy's Featherstorm, they'll SP Little Knight, we'll SP Little Knight targeting our Bamboozler and their SP, which means we retain our monsters on the field, and then at point of resolution, they take 8 and bring back Habakiri for no reason. We'll go for the Chant here in order to grab an Eldam, then we can activate the effect of the Meghala in order to bring out the Pyre Phoenix, activate the Freezing Curses to negate the effects of the Habakiri, and then activate the Fire Phoenix in order to shuffle that boy back while activating the Runic Fountain to draw a card. Finally, our opponent will pass turn, and we will be able to wrap it up, probably banishing the last remaining cards in their deck, overlaying for Cicada King, getting the battle phase lock off, and enabling them to draw a single card. They'll normal a Marshmallow, we'll Harpy's Featherstorm for the second time, they'll SP Little Knight, we'll SP Little Knight. You've seen this song and dance before, they're delaying the inevitable, and from here they are just going to go ahead and make a Snatchy just in case. Cupsy comes out, we will Slumber, targeting our Pyre Phoenix, enabling us to banish the remainder of the field and get the last unknowns out of our opponent's grip. Then they will just go ahead and pass turn. From here, we can just go to battle phase in order to stop the effect once again, and they'll scoop. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and I really appreciate them contributing to my ad revenue by staying in that last one as long as they did. Our opponent has Droll and Lockbird, which is miserable. But they don't have anything else. This pre-preparation of rights can only find this one of Mitsurugi Mirror, which means they're passing. All right, let's try it out. In the draw phase, we're going to begin with a copy of Flashing Fire. That's going to grab us a Hugin. We'll pitch this Phantasme. Afterwards, we're going to go for the Typhoon Vision and then activate the effect of the Mystical Space Typhoon to cut them off of spell traps so that we can special summon our monsters. Afterwards, we will draw 2, discard 1, go for the Chant, still in draw, in order to grab Eldam, then go to the main phase and get as much done before we inevitably become drolled. Let's go for a Slumber here, banishing 3 cards. Wow, including a Purification. We'll shuffle 3 back and draw. They will droll. We will tip, ripped off the top in order to grab a Freezing Curses, and we hit another droll. We'll go to the battle to burn the effect and then go back to our opponent. They grab an Aquaria off the top. How miserable. We're going to go for tip afterwards for a Runic Destruction, then fire off the Slumber once again, banishing 3 from the top of our opponent's deck, including some starters I bet they wish they had. We'll draw a bunch of cards, then draw for turn. Okay, let's make this happen. We'll begin with a copy of Eldam. That's going to grab us a Megara. We'll go for the Swen, trigger the effect, and then afterwards we'll overlay for a Bamboozler so that our Megala actually resolves. We will make an IP Masquerena as we make a Chant activation that will trigger the Megala and the Crocia in hand. We'll resolve the effect of the Megala for another 3 and the Crocia in order to get an MST into rotation. Finally, we're going to overlay for a Totem Bird, set 2, and pass back to our opponent. For turn, they will draw a Kusanagi. They'll activate the effect of the Kusanagi, who has a proc because we banished one of their spells. We'll change it to a draw, but they draw on a Hamakiri. Looks like we have to play Yu-Gi-Oh! After all. All right, they're going to go for Saji here. Saji is going to grab them a powerful spell. We will activate in response to the mirror a Chant, which means a point of resolution. They'll get Futsu, but we can trigger the effect of the Fire Phoenix in hand. We'll summon it as they resolve Habakiri. Then afterwards, they'll go Futsu. We'll go Curses, target Futsu. They'll go Prayers, tribute Futsu to dodge the target. We'll go Masquerena for SP Little Knight. And then finally, they will resolve the effect of their prayers. At point of resolution here, however, we are going to come out massively ahead because we can shuffle the entire board with both Phonics and SP Little Knight banishing. Afterwards, they put the mirror back in deck, so the pre-prep is online, but if you believe MST can negate, it fails to resolve because we hit it off of our destruction. Oh my god, I love this deck so much. We're going to go for the Eldam afterwards, and this should just be all she wrote. Special summoning out the Suen. From this position, I find it almost impossible that we could lose. We'll Bamboozler in order to put it underneath the Cicada King. It's not doing anything, and we need the space. We'll go to battle and end step. Our opponent draws for turn. It's pre-prep once again. We have burned our battle phase, so from here I think we can just attack for lethal. 13, 16, 12, 19, 3. That ought to do it. Woo! Best deck who? So we're back with the deck, and for all the shit I talked, we got away with it. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. The engine is recursive. The trap shuffles everything back. It draws. It gives you access to a negate and a shuffle too. I mean, you'll be able to grind with the best of them. 2. Runic is a perfect fit. It's more link fodder, it plays well as generics, it draws, it can be discarded for the draw 2, it's great at removing spells and traps. And 3, this deck's about to get pretty good. Have you read the new Link 2? And the cons. 1. Going second. The Radiant Typhoons can't summon themselves if your opponent controls a spell trap unless you have an MST in graveyard, which isn't really consistent on the draw. 2. Little to no non-engine. While the runics are sort of non-engine generics, you have no defensive interruptions during your opponent's turn. This means a lot of the time you're going to be facing a full board, which in this format can be a death sentence. And 3, the deck is 99% playable in Genesis right now. You get very little from playing this in TCG, just a couple of fusions you can summon to the extra monster zone. What's more, in Genesis, it's one of the best decks. Unless it gets pointed on Monday, you might as well just port it over there. All in all, this one was my patron's idea. We'll definitely revisit it when it gets its new card. For now, enjoy Genesis. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These 10-minute testings are made possible by, and occasionally suggested by, my patrons, some of whom have paid a lot of money to be mentioned at the end of this video. Those are Elena Tincher, Allison Elliott, Ally, APK Pearly Tier 0, Brett Henry, Cool Name, Damon O'Neill, Dark Rebel XYZ, DJ Elefante, El Gravo, El Secert, Emiliano Deverio, NB Adams, Fabrizio Petroli, Felix, Franco Romero, Garrett Duran, Hergalicious, I paid $15 for MBT to say this really long name at the end of a video, John Paradise, Night Mary, Cole Offline, Loriano Cortez, Legal Rights, Lucas Rosas, Luis Hernandez, MasterKey 090, Matthew M. Derezo, MBT Hablando en Español, MBT Play Madolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nacho Gonzalez, Pombo, Project Mercury, Pyramid, Artisan Field Cloths, TCG Accessories, Ransom My Thing, Rohan Doge, Rose Lapine, Serpentax, Shifter.mp8, Sly Ninja 43, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Who's Nick, Yuki Kazami, and Zircon Sun. Couldn't have done it without you.